fortunate today to have the person who will be introducing our featured award winner, and that person is John Briscoe. And John is a long-standing member of the Bay Planning Coalition, was a real key member who has recognized the importance of coalition building, collaboration between public and private agencies, between the regulated and the regulatory community. Done a great job. He was on the board of directors for many years of Bay Planning, certainly thriving in his law practice, as well as taking the time to teach back in his teaching at the UC school law classes. So it's great that he's giving back to the community. We talked earlier about the importance of education as it helps bring the next generation of understanding to the importance of our industry. So with that, John, come on up.
Microphone on? Hello, and I dropped things. Thank you, Jim. This is the first gathering of the Bay Planning Coalition I've attended, not being a member of the board of directors. I had served on the board for 29 years, and since its founding in 1982, I was one of the founders. And it was right here. This was a big open space where we had an open meeting with founders. But Jim took over as president last year, checked the bylaws, and found out that I had been term limited 20 years before. So I'm no longer a member of the board. I suppose I'm just the resident historian. And Jim and John asked me to present this year's Frank Boerger Award. And the first question, I know you've all been staying awake the last few nights wondering, what is a Frank Boerger? Anybody here? Ellen did. Who here knew Frank Boerger? Just raise your hand. See how few? I think we've got to give a little history. Frank was born in 1922 in Millbank, South Dakota. Served in World War II as an enlisted man, and then graduated on an accelerated program with his older brother from the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1947. He then served as a commissioned officer in Korea, and a brief stint in Vietnam. And then in 1966, he was appointed the district commander of the Corps of Engineers for the San Francisco district. He served for 3 years until 1969, during which time, of course, he was an ex-officio member of the Bay Conservation and Development Commission. Frank was then succeeded as district engineer by Charlie Rigors, who served from 69 to 72. Charlie, many of you know, is still with us, can't be here today. Then served as executive director of BCBC from 72 until 75, I think. And then over here to the Port of Oakland and became the time the director of the Port of Oakland. In 1982, Frank and Charlie conceived of the need for an organization that became the Bay Planning Coalition. At that time, every one of the refineries here in the Bay Area, they knew how to work the system, they wouldn't talk with each other. The Port of San Francisco was going to overtake the Port of Oakland and become the maritime seaport in the Bay Area. But Frank and Charlie realized that there was a need for such an organization as this, and they called the other board of directors, John Jacobs, who was the president of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, Angelo Siracusa, who was many of you know, was the president of the Bay Area Council at the time, the refinery managers, the CEO of Licensed Salt, and me, and suggested that we form this organization. For those of you who ever served in the military, you know that whenever you're asked by a colonel, retired or not, and particularly when you're asked by two colonels, you don't say no. So that was how in late 1982 the organization was founded. Charlie was our first executive director from 82 until 85, and then Frank Boerger took over from 85 until 1990, and when he succeeded in twisting my arm to take over, we call it chairman. I think president is nice, but I think what happened was chairman, chairwoman, chairperson, chair. How about president? So Jim is our president. So in July of 1990, Frank succeeded in twisting my arm and asking me to take over as the chair. I was in trial in the Central Valley and came back here for a board meeting. We used to meet in the building just up here, where the board's offices were before the new building was built. and we met in the evening, so we had a board meeting, and the formal vote was taken, and there's a very elaborate oath of office that takes about 4 hours to recite, and I recited that, and so now I'm in the chair, and I brought a case of very chilled champagne, a bunch of glasses, and I said, we're gonna toast Frank. Frank had been at that time 16 years the chair of the citizens advisory committee for the Golden National Recreation Area. He's a towering citizen in the Bay Area, and he had been sort of surrogate big brother. My father died when I was a boy, almost a father figure to me, and there's so many others of my generation. And so what I did, I had some prepared remarks before I had to go dash back to the Central Valley and Stockton where I was trying this case. And I thought, you know, doggone it, I'm going to tell them what I think. So we're sitting around the board table, and I stood up right next to Charlie, who was a big Bear guy. He had played football in Ivester. And I said, you know, all too often, a man speaks his true affection for another man on only one occasion, that other man's funeral. And I don't want that to be the case with Frank Boerger. So let me tell you how I feel about this guy. And I started on about what a great man he was, and what a great friend and citizen and mentor. And I went down, and there's, if you poking Beck's tackle, there's a tear room down his eyes. And I thought, well, I better throttle back a little bit of this emotional garbage, or I might embarrass him. He just lose it. So I did it. I became the wise ass that a lot of you know I usually am. And he survived that, I survived that, we toasted him, and I went back, drove back to Stockton. That was July 18th, 1990. The next day when I got out of court, you know, some of you don't know this, but these things hadn't been invented 22 years ago. When I got out of court, got back to my hotel room, there was a message from my secretary. I called, and Frank Boerger had died that night before, about 11 o'clock. Went home and I told him, stop it, Paul, you're going to get me. He went home and he told his great stalwart Army bride, Barbara, how much he appreciated it. It was an outpouring of affection from all of us really that night before. And what do you know, I asked him, and at a subsequent board meeting, we decided to give a Bay Area Citizen of the Year award, and we would name it for Frank Boerger, and try to keep his memory alive, the memory of the kind of fellow he was. Read the literature, and some very sterling recipients of the award, including Charlie Roberts. The lead was our first recipient, Bill Briscoe, saw on Sunday a few years ago. And this year, I'm not going to open the envelope because the secret is out, I understand. And Travis is getting the award. I got my glasses on, I can't see it. Will Travis received his undergraduate and graduate degrees from Penn State, where he sought unsuccessfully to serve as the Buckaroo Cowboy football team. He would have written that. Trav then came out to California, and he went to work for BCDC from 1970 until 1972. And I noticed that you left just as Charlie Roberts was arriving. You want to get the heck out of there. Real tough boss. Then, where do you suppose he went? He went to the newly formed Coastal Commission because they had an apprentice program in the arts of the Inquisition, which was tutored by a lineal descendant of 2 Borgia popes. There, he learned and honed the skills of Machiavelli's prince. When he left, he returned, bringing those skills, those Machiavellian skills, back to BCDC, where he served 10 years, from 85 until 95 thereabouts. I'm making this up as I go along, but he keeps nodding in approval. I guess it makes his revisionist biography. Yeah. They do pull it asleep. And then in 1995, when Pete Wilson abolished BCDC, and everybody was heading for the hill. They couldn't find an executive. So Trav became the executive director. And a lot of you know that Trav is a close and cherished friend, so please forget the tongue-in-cheekiness that you may hear from me from time to time. Mr. Travis has a world-class intellect. He has the vision thing the first President Bush referred to, and he's a master strategist. He served the state and the public with great dedication, hard work, and the utmost integrity during his career, particularly those last 16 years. I think those of us that know you can disagree, but you're gonna, if you disagree with this man, you darn well better have the facts. You better have marshaled everything on your side, and you better be prepared to argue on the merits and all that. Only none of that nonsense. When we shook hands, it's a deal. It's a deal that's good for the ages. Early, he saw the looming danger of sea level rise. Early, when it was being poo-pooed a lot more than it is today. Now today, those of you who read the publications, scripts, Ron Flick and other scientists down there, Gary Briggs at the University of California, Santa Cruz, Jerry the Oceanography Department, there's pretty much consensus that we're talking about the upper range in the next 90 years, 1.6 meters. I had to figure that out. That's 55 inches. That's only 4.5 feet of sea level rise, and we could be experiencing. And Trav was one of the first to see it coming and realize that, you know, he had to play chicken well. And he did. You know, you took a lot of guff. You took a lot of guff from some people that you were very capable. You took a lot of guff, but you went out. And what a lot of people don't know is that over these last several years, any civic organization, a Rotary, a grammar school in Fremont, a church in Pittsburgh wanted him to speak on this subject some evening, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, or Sunday. He never said no. And he went and he made these talks in the sense that this was part of the duty as a public servant. Jody knows how often he was gone to make these talks. If Trav had been, I try to give you some sense of this fellow I know so well, I'm privileged to know so well. If you had been named the port director of San Francisco, the Port of Oakland, might be a small craft marina today. If you've been named director of San Francisco International Airport to succeed Lou Turpin, I think Pan Am Flight 1 would have been reinstituted and you could go back and forth to the moon because of the kind of vision and leadership he had. And if you had decided upon a career in the military, you would have been the best battlefield commanders ever, and I would have been mightily proud to have you as my commanding officer. We're very proud to present you with the Frank Boerger Award.
I told John, and he was making me cry, and I hope I made it through the night. I cannot begin to express the surprise when I learned that I was receiving the Frank Boerger Award. I have never seen myself as having the stature of the individuals who received this award in the past. And receiving it now, at a time when the Bay Planning Coalition is playing an ever more positive role in dealing with controversial issues, only increases the humility I feel in receiving the Frank Boerger Award. I am very pleased this award will serve as a companion to the Gene Hour Environmental Award I received a few few years ago from the San Francisco Estuary Partnership for my work in protecting the Bay's natural resources. Now, those of you who know me know I have said so many times that the most important word in the name of the agency, the San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission, is "and." BCDC strives to advance environmental protection, but not at the price of economic prosperity, and it fosters economic development, but not at the cost of environmental degradation. So receiving awards for both protecting the environment and advancing economic development seems to validate, at least to me, my professional philosophy. When I received the Gene Hour Award, I did what I love to do, which was irritate my audience by insisting that it's unacceptable to deal solely with environmental objectives while ignoring broader matters that are at the core of the quality of life for all species, including humans. I told my environmentalist colleagues that it's both short-sighted and narrow-minded to focus on only one part of a complex problem, even though that's the easy course to take, because if you look at only one side of the equation, every answer you come up with is always right. So I will take the same course today and try to irritate you when I tell you it's equally important for the business community to renew your commitment to protecting our natural resources, because they are integral to the biggest fringe benefit businesses provide to workers in the Bay Area. Our regional economy is increasingly becoming more knowledge-based, where we rely on educated, creative, innovative people to dream up the ideas and the products that we sell to the rest of the world. And to attract these inventive souls to live and work in the Bay Area, our sales pitch works something like this. We say, move here. We won't pay you any more than you get anywhere else. Our housing costs are among the highest in the nation. Traffic congestion is terrible. Our public schools are mediocre, but it's a terrific place to live. And it is. The climate is wonderful. We're socially and politically tolerant. We've got great universities, wonderful cultural institutions, sensational restaurants, and we live in the middle of what is essentially a national park, with San Francisco Bay at our front door and a mosaic of parks, preserves, and open spaces out our back door. While other regions focus on financial incentives, lax regulatory requirements, and low taxes to lure businesses, we rely on our charm and good looks to get by. Now, there's always room to make a regulatory system that protects our charm and good looks work more efficiently and effectively. But we shouldn't abandon the fundamental philosophy that has served us so well in making our region so prosperous. Protecting our natural environment has yielded economic benefits that would make a venture capitalist blush. So I will close by telling you exactly the same thing I told the environmental community when I received the Gene Hour Award. We don't have to make a choice between the natural environment and the human environment. We don't have to compromise when we deal with the two at the same time. We can, we should, and we must both advance environmental stewardship and economic prosperity. A region without jobs for our children and affordable housing is no more sustainable than a region where our children suffer from high rates of asthma or are deprived of the spiritual inspiration found in our parks or open space in a spectacular and healthy San Francisco Bay. Achieving both goals at the same time is not easy, but that is why we must strive to do so, because it is hard. A changing global climate compounds the challenge of all of us, and difficult as it will be to meet this challenge, I know that if I don't continue to try, I'm not worthy of the Frank Boerger Award. And in that spirit, I thank you for this great honor And I also really appreciate having John present it to me. You couldn't have found a better space. Thank you.